Red Bull has always been associated with making a person feel energetic and active. Well, the tagline, "Red Bull gives you wings," explains it all. Therefore, the thought of combining Red Bull and F1 racing wasn't a bad one. Within a period of 5 years, Red Bull went from plucky underdogs to dominant constructor champions. It was astonishing how quickly they rose to the sport's top. But how precisely did they manage it? Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. Today we'll talk about how Red Bull worked its way up to become the F1 World Champion. You must have seen Red Bull being placed in its own special, well-designed corner at every grocery store. They have their own customized fridge, which urges you to buy that drink right away. Well, let's dig into what makes Red Bull such a popular drink. The Austrian firm Red Bull markets energy drinks under the name Red Bull. As of 2019, it holds a 38% market share, making it the most well-known energy drink brand. Red Bull has sold more than 100 billion cans since its introduction in 1987, including 9.8 billion in 2021. Red Bull Energy Drink, which was the first only offered in a single bland flavor and was packaged in a tall, slender, silver blue can, saw a number of changes throughout time. One of the most well-known and memorable advertising slogans in the United States is, "Red Bull gives you wings." Instead of employing conventional marketing techniques, Red Bull has raised awareness and developed a brand myth via extreme sports and competition series like the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, Red Bull Air Race, Red Bull Crashed Ice, and noteworthy stunts like the Stratos Space Diving Project. In addition to sporting events, its marketing consists of music through its Red Bull Records label, celebrity sponsorships, and ownership of numerous sports teams. Known for its energizing drinks, Red Bull is an Austrian corporation, but it also participates in motorsports and soccer, among other sports. The Austrian business is highly known around the world for two things. First, its energy drinks, with which it's made significant progress. Red Bull, which was created in 1984, is a new firm when compared to rivals like Coca-Cola or Pepsi. In 1987, they introduced their flagship product, which was modeled after a beverage that one of the company's founder, Dietrich Mateschitz, experienced in Thailand. The company's entrance into sports, for which it's highly recognized, is the second problem. Red Bull supports a variety of teams, competitions, athletes, properties, etc., that wear their name globally. The corporation has expanded beyond simple sponsorships, though, since it has owned teams in other sports, making its brand synonymous, not just with beverages, but with the sport itself. Red Bull, in contrast to other team-owning businesses, not only sponsors teams with its brand, but also becomes involved in sports development and aims to be successful everywhere it makes investments. For instance, the business owns the American soccer teams New York Red Bulls, Red Bull Salzburg from Austria, Rasenball Sport Leipzig from Germany, and Red Bull Bragantino from Brazil. They have had success, especially when playing against European teams, against whom they've won trophies and played in the Champions League. The organization also owns racetracks, stadiums, and European hockey clubs. For the first time in the V6 turbo hybrid era, Red Bull started an F1 season as a serious contenders for the constructor title. Right before that, in the last days of the V8, the Austrian team solidified its position as the team to defeat. Between 2010 and 2013, the team and Sebastian Vettel, its star driver, would each take home 4 world championships. The squad had a totally dominant stretch, but getting there wasn't straightforward, cheap, or even easy. So here's the tale of Red Bull's ascent to the top of the motorsport world. The appointment of the brilliant and mysterious Adrian Newey as the chief technical officer was the first significant hint that perhaps something was just beginning to simmer at Milton Keynes. Before being bought and relaunched as Red Bull, Jaguar had already tried to sign the illustrious designer. With the promise of total autonomy to overhaul the team and propel them to the front of the F1 grid, Red Bull succeeded where Jaguar failed. Involved in the development of the legendary FW16B, the active suspension monster that propelled Nigel Mansell to the 1992 world title, Newey rose to renown. The team went on to win the 1998 Function and Driver World Championships after he turned around McLaren's fortunes. May 15, 2016, Verstappen's life was profoundly altered by Red Bull's risky choice, which has influenced Formula One ever since. Verstappen was promoted from junior team Toro Rosso, where he had swiftly gained the attention despite his lack of single-seater racing experience, at the age of 18 and with only 23 races under his belt, to replace Daniel Kvyat, the previous world champion. It's uncommon to see a team switch out a driver after 4 races in a season, much less one who finished third just 18 days prior. Red Bull, however, remained unwavering despite criticism from other drivers in the paddock because they were so confident in the abilities of the youngest driver in F1. Red Bull's side was taken by Martin Brundle. Verstappen was showing all the signs of a Senna, of a Schumacher, as early as his third F1 race, according to Sky One Sports F1 analyst, who called the driver switch a masterstroke because it allowed Red Bull to retain a player that rival teams Mercedes and Ferrari were vying for. Events that would unfold in Verstappen's first Grand Prix weekend as a Red Bull driver, however, were beyond the comprehension of even the most fervent of Verstappen supporters. However, Max Verstappen's inexorable march to a second straight world championship appeared more like a procession than a race throughout most of the 2022 Formula One season. Verstappen completed his title defense by winning the rain-soaked Japanese Grand Prix earlier in October. He didn't realize he had done enough to keep his title until after the race was over. Mercedes, which appeared untouchable for 7 years while Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg swept the championships, never really moved past first gear, while Ferrari eventually lost steam following a strong start to the season. Verstappen was so unstoppable that he made history by becoming just the 4th driver in Formula One history to win the World Championship with 4 or more races remaining. Red Bull's triumph is subject to one qualification that hasn't fully materialized. The team violated F1's cost cap regulations in 2021, according to the regulating body of the game, the FIA. Max Verstappen was confident about one thing throughout a difficult season-long battle with Lewis Hamilton for the 2021 World Championship. Even if he succeeded in realizing his longtime dream of winning the title, it would not alter his course. It was part of a larger strategy to lessen the weight on his young shoulders. He is still only 24 years old. Developed by a small team close to him. And it worked last year when the Red Bull driver edged Hamilton out of the final lap in Abu Dhabi. That triumph hasn't altered his life as he promised. Instead of embarking on a global media tour to advance his brand, he carried on living his life away from the prying eyes of the media. He enjoys spending time with his family, playing video games, and exercising with the goal of expanding his title collection. But the pressure has decreased, which is the main change. He has fulfilled his own dreams as well as those of his parents, who are both skilled race car drivers. Everything else is now an added bonus. Verstappen now carries himself different, whether it was an intentional or unconsciously performed action. I've talked to him in the TV pen several times over the weekend for the past few years, and this year, I've observed that he's more at ease and less reserved in his comments. When he responds, he leans forward and seems more interested. He's open and more humorous. His comments frequently contain humor. Success did not happen fast, but 2009's significant regulatory changes gave Newey his first chance to exercise his inventive faculties. He did not let us down, as we'll demonstrate later. For Formula One, the 2009 season was one of change. Aero and downforce were drastically lowered in order to better racing, which necessitated a complete redesign of the 2008 designs. Braun GP and Red Bull Racing, 2 organizations that excelled at following the rules and placed first and second in the standings, entered this strange new world. As Ferrari and McLaren struggled, Red Bull very soon emerged as a major title challenger, fundamentally altering that pecking order. While Jenson Button of Braun had previously dominated the season, Sebastian Vettel took the 3rd race of the year to claim victory. Red Bull, though, became the team to beat as soon as they created their own variation of the contentious double diffuser. In 2009, they took first place in 6 Grand Prix events, including the last 3. It was a bad omen for 2010, in which Red Bull came into top form. It should go without saying that Red Bull's success after many years of labor wasn't a coincidence. Instead, it was the result of preparation and the company's unprecedented financial commitment to Formula One. Along with bringing on Newey, the company also splurged on a brand new technical facility in Milton Keynes and invested heavily in the Red Bull Junior Drivers Division, which has produced drivers like Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen. Dietrich Mateschitz, an Austrian billionaire and founder of the Red Bull firm, has provided the financial power. His dedication to motorsports and sports in general immediately laid the groundwork for a strong foundation on which the team could build. They waited 4 years to take home a Formula One championship, and sister team Toro Rosso even beat them to the finish line. But following that initial victory in 2009, the team was essentially unstoppable. No matter how amazing the car is, it needs to be in the hands of individuals who can use it to its fullest, just like any fine piece of technology. It's not a surprise that drivers like Senna, Schumacher, and Prost raced in the McLaren MP44 and the Ferrari F2004, two of the most dominant F1 cars ever. Red Bull is comparable in that it's difficult to see the team winning 4 consecutive function championships with drivers of average caliber. Instead, when the team finally had a race-winning vehicle, it was being driven by a fiercely swift Australian who would go on to become a legend in sports. Even though Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel occasionally had disagreements, their tenure with Red Bull could not have been better for the team at the time. The Australian contributed priceless knowledge, raw speed, and race IQ. While Sebastian was still a young and unpolished driver, he already possessed a champion's deadly instinct and a fighting one-lap pace on a Saturday. Vettel was destined to become the de facto #1 driver, but Webber was astute enough to recognize that he might pick up significant victories along the way that would greatly aid his team in its title-winning efforts. The man who has led the squad since its inception must be mentioned when discussing the key Red Bull personnel. In the world of motorsport, what Horner has accomplished is quite uncommon, because team owners often have a finite tenure. Contrarily, Horner has also remained part of the Red Bull family ever since the team's founding in 2005, helping them through all the highs and lows. Horner, the founder of Arden, was named the team principal after Red Bull acquired Jaguar Racing, making him the sport's youngest team principal at the time. The development of Red Bull powertrains, the section that will be in charge of everything linked to engines, and the success of this 2021 season, which could result in the championship, has made the firm one of the rivals that the other teams must defeat. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching, then give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel on the way out. See you next time. Until then, bye!